Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm actually not here yet. Um, oh yeah, pretend I'm not here. How are we all doing? I'm just trying to still get things sorted out. That was supposed to have been on a loop for another little bit, but it's not. So I'm here. Forgot to click that little loop button. This has been a technological nightmare. I'll get to it here in just a quick second. My mic, the gain on my mic is up way too hot. Let me pull that down a little bit. There we go. So I don't sound that bad. And let me adjust my headphone volume so that I can hear what's going on. There we are. Hi, everybody. How are we doing? It's me, Legal Vices. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and all the other stuff. Yeah. So here we are. I've learned a limitation of StreamYard and my setup. People were telling me to get, more than one monitor way back in the day. Yeah, you'll need more than one monitor. So what I did, I figured, well, why would I need more than one monitor? I'll just get a really big one. So my monitor is essentially a 55-inch television right here in front of me. But now I've come to appreciate the limitations of StreamYard, and in that I can only share one media source at a time. So I can't show like my camera here as well as like a news article and a video at the same time using StreamYard. But if I had a second monitor, then I could show the video and then on the second monitor have two windows open, the video window and the document window open. So that would work. So I tried to do that this evening. So my old monitor, I put it here, but just the room is not set up to have a 55-inch monitor and then another 33-inch monitor off to the side. And no matter what I could do, it just wouldn't work. So what we're going to be doing today, I had this beautiful plan where I would show the video of what was happening. And underneath it, the Navy's report minute by minute. But what it just boils down to is we're going to have to jump back and forth a lot. So it's going to be pretty awkward, and there's going to be lots of technical issues and errors that come up. I think I've pretty much got everything narrowed down to 3 main windows I need to have open that I have to flip back and forth between. But we'll just have to see how it goes. So that's the technical side of things. And weirdly, my microphone still seems a bit hot. Of course, it's mine, so it can't help but be hot. So let me pull down the gain just a little bit more there. All right. So what have we got coming up? Let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. Coming up this week is going to be fun. This week and the next few weeks, I think, are going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have at least I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it. Tonight, we're going to be doing the Maritime Monday thing. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of my time here on YouTube doing this Legal Vices thing. So we'll be spending a couple of hours with the man himself who convinced me to do all of this nonsense. Tomorrow will be a sit down with Legal Mindset, Andrew. We're just going to talk about all things based, just kind of chill for a bit, catch up, do some things, and generally, hopefully have an amusing presentation for a couple of hours. That'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Legal Vices and Legal Mindset, Andrew, on my 1-year anniversary show. And then on Wednesday, it'll be a sit down with Nick Ricada. Nick will be here for a couple of hours, and we'll chat as well and see where that conversation takes us. Thursday will be OJ Simpson, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will be in Japan hanging out with Meme Copium. Get some videos shot there and upload some stuff. Next Monday will be the guest appearance on Maritime Monday of the retired afloat people who will be talking, hopefully, about the search for the Northwest Passage, an expansion of the video we did a month or so ago, I guess, about the search for the Northwest Passage. But this will be a longer and in-depth presentation, I hope. And then throughout the next Tuesday, I believe we'll be having on Nina Infinity for a couple of hours. You can get to know her if you don't know her, or if you do know Nina Infinity, you can just enjoy our shenanigans. And at some point, also, we're just gonna be doing guests. What I want to do for the next several weeks is, in addition to talking about some important stuff and pop culture stuff and whatever's going on, I want to have the people that have helped take care of me and have given me breaks and have helped me along this journey over the past year. I just kind of want to have them sit down on one-on-one conversations with all of us, with me and with you as well. So, I mean, currently the people that I'm reaching out to that I expect absolutely to be on will be this is Legal Mindset and Rakeda in the next couple of days. Next week will be Nina Infinity, also working with Anna, that Star Wars girl, to get a sit down with her. Be reaching out to all of the regulars, Nicholas Starov, Danny On, Steph, the Alter Nerd, et cetera, et cetera, Megan Fox. We're just going to be reaching out to Steve Gosney, of course, and everybody else. I'm not going to keep naming names because I would name names forever, but I want to do this for about a month. Just kind of have one-on-one sit downs with people so that we can get to know each other and a little bit more, and you guys can ask questions. Flux, of course, everybody will be there. And members, if you missed our members only stream last week, it's up there. If you go to the live videos, it should be there. You should be able to find it. So yeah, there'll be a long list of people. Just, you know, as I said, if I start naming all of them now, that was just the ones that popped into my head. So there we go. That's kind of what's coming up in the next several weeks. I hope you enjoy it. Fedorowski says, Anna can try whiskey, you try dirt. Yeah, we'll just stick to what we both like. How about that? So, okay. What we're doing today as part of our Maritime Monday is we're going to look at a near collision of two United States Navy vessels, the MOMSEN and the HARPERS FERRY. See, there will be no poll today because frankly I just didn't have time to do it, and there's nothing, no reason to interrupt the stream today to set up a poll. Hi dogs, the dogs just kind of wandered in. Let's see what's up with them. Yeah, so no poll today. So mods, you just kind of keep everybody reminding they should be hitting that like button, and I'll hit it a couple of times today. Spatha, new member, welcome. Even though you've been here forever, welcome anyway to the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you so much for that. Deeply, deeply appreciated. Just in case anybody cares, I didn't have time to groom the stash, so it's kind of tickling my face there. I was supposed to have all of this done, but right at closing time today, my boss says, it's we're having an office dinner tonight. It's forced fun. So yeah, we had to do the forced fun thing. But I have things to do. No, we got to go out and have dinner. So we went out and had dinner, and I got home about an hour ago and had to do all this technical stuff. You don't care about that. That's just me whining. All right. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is apologize to those of you that are driving, that are, on the road and listening. People like, I know Fundin does this, but the people that just have us on as sort of the radio as they drive around, do their work or whatnot. Today is kind of visual. It's kind of visual heavy. Because there's gonna be a lot of video shown, but there'll be probably sufficient explanation of what is being shown on the video that you'll be able to follow along just listening. There's just going to be some silence. So that's just kind of the first warning to those of you that just have us on and listen to me as you would listen to a radio. There's going to be a little bit of silence today while we watch some video and then talk about it. The other thing is we're going to be talking, we're going to be looking at Navy documents. So they're U.S. military documents. So as those of you who are veterans here in the chat can attest to, the U.S. military would not be happy if they couldn't just throw 1.5 million useless acronyms and abbreviations that no one else on planet Earth knows, and that probably half of the people in the military don't know. So there's acronym and abbreviation heavy content today, and frankly, you don't really need to know what any of it means. So that's the thing. It's going to be there. Don't stress too much if you don't follow the lingo, because frankly, I don't anymore either. But some things will be self-evident. Some things I can explain, and other things you just don't need to worry about. Marv White says, I'm going to need you to describe the visuals down to the minute detail, my friend. Well, the Navy will do a lot of that for us, so we're pretty good on that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that super chat. That brings us. Do we want the dog cam thing up? Today's the first day of the month. It's a new month. I guess we should do a new grift for the dog. Well, I'll just throw the dog thing up here. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. All right. Boom. All right. Oh, wait. There we go. Boom. Dog. So you may recall Yeah. See, Contagion's talking about the thing that I'm worried about. So could you pause and because you pod said videos to explain what is happening in them for those of us working. We're going to be going just literally second by second through two video of two ships that are almost hitting each other. But the Navy documents do a pretty good job of explaining what's happening and why that's good or bad. So we're gonna be looking at that. What are you guys doing back there, you stupid dogs? Stop it, dummies. All right. So you should be able to follow along. Some parts might be confusing, but just bear with us and we'll muddle through together. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we all need to do before. Yeah, the Navy even reverses acronyms because it makes them more special. Right. Yeah. So scanning the horizons here for anything else we need to get out of the way before we go. As always, standard, please like and subscribe to the video. Can't say that enough. The subscriptions is what we really need to get out of this weird little YouTube imposed rut. We'll do our best. We'll eventually break through and continue growing in our membership. So you gain 100, you lose 100. You gain 20, you lose 20, and we're just flatline while YouTube puts us in some sort of weird little point where they think that the people who subscribe to my channel may not really have wanted to subscribe after all. So anyway, if you have subscribed, please check to make sure you're still subscribed. If you haven't, please do. Please feel free to super chat and send the super chats. That guarantees your chat gets read and addressed as we go through it. Otherwise, we'll do our best to get to your comments, but the super chats do guarantee you get your super chat read and addressed to the best of my ability. Okay. Now, see again, people in chat, if you're not familiar with how this Maritime Monday thing works, we talk about things that people know about. No spoilers as to what happens, who's responsible, what happened from this. Let it unfold for those that don't know. No sense. This is just like a movie. It's going to play out here. Don't give the spoilers as to what happens at the end. Please, let's keep it open. Right. That's it. Let's bring up the video and give it a little bit of a talk here as we launch into it. See how well we can jump back and forth between videos. You may recall that on a Maritime Monday a while ago, we were just doing some reaction videos, and one of the reactions was in San Diego Bay. Two Navy ships, one entering port, one leaving port, kind of sort of did a little dance and got a little close to each other. We just watched that, talked about it, made a few comments, and moved on to the next reaction. Well, as they're wont to do, the U.S. Navy takes things like that pretty seriously. So they did a full investigation into how those ships came to be where they were at that time, and what happened. So that's what we're going through today. We're going to look at the video, at the entire video at the relevant time, as well as the Navy's report. And the dogs are being weird. Probably because I didn't get to play with them much before we started. But anyway, weird dogs are par for the course. Right. So to set the scene, this is a camera, the San Diego webcam. This is the channel name. They have several cameras set up. And we've got, this is the USS Tripoli that is just coming into port with, you can see the tug here. It's got these little tractor tugs. It is a, ouch. Dog just bit my toe. What'd you do that for, dummy? The USS Tripoli is coming in, and while that's passing, you have the MOMSEN coming into port. And the MOMSEN is a destroyer. And the other ship, the HARPERS FERRY, it's a landing ship dock. It's basically it's an amphibious ship. Well, I guess that launches. You can launch amphibious assault craft from this ship. So it's a ship that launches other ships to make landings. That's essentially the easiest way of describing it. And things kind of start to happen. So before this video starts, this video here starts at 10:08 a.m. and 45 seconds. So before that, let's go back a couple of hours. Let's go back to 8:30 a.m. This is on 29 November 2022. And I'm really, really hesitant to do this because I never remember to put the video back, but I'm paying extra attention to that today, so I'm pretty sure I won't boomer that part of the day, but there's guaranteed to be several technology problems as the day goes on. So 8:30 a.m., the destroyer, the MOMSEN, is underway, and it's getting ready to enter into San Diego Harbor. Now, about 41 minutes later, at 9:11 a.m., the USS Harper's ferry is at the Naval Base San Diego and is getting underway to leave the port. So the pilot is on board. A pilot takes him a little ways down the port and then disembarks from the ship. And then from 8:30 a.m. to 10:15 a.m., which is just the other side of this video, because like I said, this video here will start at 10:08 and 45 seconds. So between 8:30 and 10:15, the we're going to be saying MOMSEN and Harper's Ferry so much tonight. I know I'm going to get him confused. But between 8:30 and 10:15, the MOMSEN made various communications with the USS San Diego tractor for pilot pickup. And that's what it's like. These tractors are the little tugs, and they need a pilot. So, the pilot comes and gets on board and takes them into port. So they made the arrangements to do that. And the MOMSEN comes to full power and made various course changes, speed changes as they approached to enter San Diego port in San Diego Harbor. And then this is where we start to begin our story. At about 9:51, they're on a course of 353 degrees, course of 353, which is almost north, like zero. Think of zero as north, and then like 353 degrees. So it's just a little shy of north. And they're sailing at 10 knots inbound San Diego. And then from between 9:11 and 10:09, the Harper's Ferry made a bunch of course and speed changes as they're leaving port. Now, the Harper's Ferry, it maneuvers along. It's going past this naval station island called Nasny. Sorry, it's the naval station north. Oh my God, there's a mosquito already this year. That sucks. Sorry, random ADHD comment as I watch the mosquito fly in front of me. So they're carrier piers, and what they're doing is they're going towards the outside. They're sailing a little bit to the center of the waterway to allow more room for the Tripoli that we can see here on screen to say that we could see before I took it off. They're allowing a little more room for the Tripoli to pass. Now, the problem is when they made we can bring up the video again here now before I forget while I'm still thinking about it. So yeah, the MOMSEN moved a little, not the MOMSEN, sorry, the Harper's Ferry coming out of the port. Coming out of the port, they move it outside of. I'd like to say exactly what they moved outside of, but that part is redacted from the Navy records. We have someone here, Boss Klutlik. Please look into the mutiny on the Batavia, an absolute horror story. We did the Batavia about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So go back through the Maritime Mondays and check it out. We will find our show on the Batavia. And I believe we actually used the mutiny on the Batavia video to do that with. So yeah, go check on that. You'll enjoy that. So what happens is when the Harper's Ferry starts to make a little bit of extra room for the USS Tripoli to come into port, that starts confusing people, because although they know why they're doing it, not everybody understand. Not everybody else involved. Not everybody else involved understands why the ship is doing what it's doing. And then at 10:09, which is where we are here, the Harper's Ferry came left. So it turned to port. Left is port, starboard is right. The Harper's Ferry coming out of port turned to starboard to a course of 225 to render honors with the USS Tripoli. Just think of that as they are passing each other and waving to each other as they pass. Just think of it that way. So let's see the video up to that point. We'll watch the video for about 1 minute and then stop it here. This is the Tripoli going. You can see the tractor tug here that's throwing it in. And as the camera pans around,
3,800.
Okay, this here is the Tripoli coming in from the left to the right. And this ship here behind it in the background, this is the HARPERS ferry. And they're sailing a little bit to the left here. They're coming a little, they should stay on as far right in the channel as possible. But they came a little bit left. They came to port a little bit to get closer to the Tripoli. So they give the Tripoli a little bit more room, but they also want to be close enough to say hi as they pass.
200.
So you can actually see the HARPERS ferry turning to port here, turning a little bit to port. You can see how it's turning left a little bit there.
All the way up slowly. Thank you.
And they continue along this here. And while they're doing that, after the HARPERS ferry, after they do their rendering honors to the Tripoli, the commanding officer there, the executive officer, sorry, he spends the remaining time checking on the other crewmen, seeing what's going on. And he doesn't really remember many of the actions that were discussed in relating to the events that morning. And then the next significant thing happens here in a few minutes. But so we've basically just got a couple of minutes of the ships passing each other here. Listen to the audio a bit. Again, the Tripoli going. We've got the HARPERS ferry coming out.
Yes, Kappa or 10 is looking to enter. What's your current location? Control Kappa.
Last station, this is 3-2. Repeat your last.
Degaussing control, this is Warship 9-2, channel 1-3, over.
So again, this is just standard communications between the ships in the port and whatnot.
Good morning, sir. We are ready to commence our degaussing run. We are approaching the degaussing range, over.
Not sure which vessel that is that's speaking. John Gary says, I think a lot of confusion could be eliminated if they just said left and right.
DMU, this is 3-2. Repeat your last.
Numbers.
Well, that's an interesting thing. We can do a little bit of a quick history lesson here. For those of you that aren't aware, that port and starboard literally meant port and starboard way back in the day. Starboard was the right because that was the side that was towards the stars, and port was the side that was towards the port. So when you would dock with the left side of your ship up against the dock. So that's the port side of your vessel. The other side is the starward side. But now, even before the term port came into practice, it was called larboard, starboard and larboard. It was starward side and landward side. So that's kind of the history of why they use these confusing terms, starboard and port, because the starboard was the right side that faced the stars, and the port or larboard side was the side that faced the port or land. Yeah, those are where those terms came from.
Course 351, speed 5 knots. Our coils read as follows. M coil is positive 40, FPQP minus 28, A coil minus 8,
3-2. Copy all.
and FIQI coil positive 29 amps, over.
Talk. Now we've got we can skip a little bit here, go faster. All right. So
Over.
Now we're at 10:12. I'm gonna back up a little bit so we can hear this communication here. This is the important communication to start things off.
Seat
Tractor 11, this is Warship 7, over.
Okay, so the audio isn't the greatest.
Over. Tractor 11, this is Warship 7.
This is Warship 92 on channel 13,
works
over.
with us. Standing by on channel 12. Over, out.
Okay, what you should be hearing, but isn't coming in clearly.
Morning,
at
Captain.
all.
This is Warship 49. I'll see you port to port.
Okay, this is what I wanted here. The Warship 49, that is the Harper's Ferry. It's LSD, the landing ship dock, or launching ship dock. Again, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the LSD 49. It's the Harper's Ferry. And that's arranging communications and their passage plan with the MOMSEN, which is designated as DDG 92. So, and Warship 49 and everything, that's these two ships.
Morning, Captain. This is Warship 49. I'll see you port to port.
That right there is an important thing. That's important. So at 10:12, the Harper's Ferry, which you just heard from, arranged a port-to-port passage with the MOMSEN over the radio. And what that means is the ships agreed to pass port to port. So their port sides show each other, the left sides to left sides. And that's a proper thing to do because they're in a narrow channel here. And we talked a little bit about them last week, and I said I'd mention them again. It's the rules of the road. They're rules of the road. They're called the COLREGs, the collision regulations. And if you follow them and good seamanship, you should be able to avoid collisions. That's the idea. They're literally the rules of the road. And the rules for sailing in a narrow channel are laid out here. So a vessel proceeding along the course of a narrow channel or fairway, it's just like the sailing route. Think of the fairway as the highway. Shall keep as near to the outer limit of the channel or fairway, which lies on her starboard side as is safe and practicable. So first of all, the ship should be sailing as far to their right as possible. That's an important thing to note here because they're kind of close to the middle, both of them, but they should be sailing as far as possible to the right side of the channel. But the deal here is we want to go to rule, I believe it's 17 or 18. It's rule 14, a head-on situation. This tells you what happens when two ships are headed straight for each other or expected to head straight for each other. When two power-driven vessels are meeting on a reciprocal or nearly reciprocal course so as to involve the risk of collision, each shall alter her course to starboard so that each shall pass on the port side of the other. You want to pass on the port side. You want to pass port to port. And that's the arrangement that was made here. They arranged to pass port to port. So everything is cool, kosher, Gucci, and proper at this point. This is why I'm saying I need two screens so that I can just click on videos and things. But here we go. Back to this event. So they've arranged to pass port to port. We're good so far. And things continue pretty normally here for the next several minutes.
Port, and for your awareness, we are inbound to Naval Station North Island, over.
Okay, we get the double view here. We'll mute this for a bit because there's really no special audio going on here at the moment. The next major main event happens at 10:15. So we're about a minute and 45 seconds away. But we have a beautiful view of San Diego Harbor and the USS Tripoli inbound, the amphibious assault ship. It's you can see it coming around there. It's got all the crewmen on deck doing their thing. Turning, getting ready to come in. Speed it up a little bit because that's not the ship we're interested in. See at Tripoli. But this, I mean, this, you can see these tractor tugs. These are just essentially engines. They're floating engines. The horsepower that these things have are pretty darn amazing. They get to push and pull these ships around all the time. All right, now this is a good view here of the problem beginning. This down here, this ship, if you're looking at the top screen, the ship in the bottom right is the MOMSEN. And the ship at the top left is the HARPERS ferry. And as you can kind of see, they're going to kind of come into a crossing situation here. Well, okay, that's an incorrect term. That actually means something. They're coming into a situation where they're going to be turning basically on the same course as each other, heading towards each other. And there's these buoys here. I don't know if you can see them. There's these tiny little buoys here. That is sort of, you're supposed to stay on your own sides and things like that of these buoys. They're navigational buoys and they mean things. I think we're going to talk about those a little bit here. But basically what's happening is this is a bend in the channel, and they're both going around the bend. And they're both kind of going around the bend, sort of kind of on the same course as each other. So this is at 10:15 and 44 seconds. So what's happened here was at 10:15:05, so about 35 seconds before this, the MOMSEN made communications with the San Diego tractor to receive a tug and a pilot alongside. So basically what that means is they called one, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's this tug right over here that I'm circling, but they called one of these tractor tugs and said, we need a pilot to come on board our ship and pilot us into port. The pilot is the guy, he's the local guy that knows everything about this port. And it's his job to safely bring the ship into port, taking care of, to avoid all of the navigational hazards and problems that he should know exist in the port. And then cut back to that. So they make this, and he asks for this, and then they're sailing at 5 knots. The pilot comes along and they get on. There's no other communication for about the next 5 minutes. And there's a whole bunch of redacted information as to what happened between this time and the next major incident. This is, you got some jet skiers there, I guess. So the ships just continue. We get to watch them sail quietly towards each other. Now the people that are standing watch, the crew right here on this is a close up of the MOMSEN. The watchstanders, well, they're called watchstanders. They're the people that are on duty, that are keeping watch on board the MOMSEN. I hate this. I hate this Navy report because I'm trying to decipher what they did because half of it is redacted. Let me, just for giggles, so you know what I'm reading. And again, we'll bring it up and read it together in certain parts. But this is the document that's getting read by me. So it's just loaded with all of these redactions, which tells you, the MOMSEN is on course something, or the MOMSEN handled bridge-to-bridge radios were not dialed to something. The MOM watchstanders believe they shifted back to something or another following the telecommunications. So what I'm guessing, I mean, I don't know. They're either talking about radio channels or manual to auto steering or something. But for some reason, the Navy doesn't want us to know what exactly they did. So I'm trying to read through these through all these lovely redactions that the Navy loves to do. The U.S. military, the U.S. government loves to do. Yeah, redacted just like Epstein documents, right? Playing Mad Libs with the that would be fun. Play Mad Libs with the redactions. All right. They just switched to chicken mode. Yeah, well, so whatever course they happen to be on exactly. And then at 10:16 and 29 seconds, which has just happened. Right now we're at 10:16:48. At 10:16:29, the HARPERS ferry is on a course it's on some course and at some speed, and they're turning to something else shortly after that. So, wow, how detailed is that information? Now, and so you can see here, as the MOMSEN comes into view here. It's still heading into port. That's funny. D-What super chat redacted. Thanks. Thank you for the redacted super chat, D-What. Deeply appreciate it. All right, here's another good view. You can see that they've also, from this camera, redacted a ship that is that is parked there, that is berthed there. Lacey Pettit just sending my love, Jeff. Oh, thank you so much, Lacey. That's deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. And Rose thanking D-What. D-What and Lacey bringing it in. Thanks. All right, so the ships are continuing. They're getting closer. Bad things are fixing to be happening. So right now the video is up to 10:18:02. Let's see what's been happening as best we can tell through the redacted things that have been put into this document. So they're both on some course and some speed. The Tractor 7, the tug, it's approaching the starboard bow of the MOMSEN. It's coming up on the right side so that the pilot can get off of the tugboat and onto the MOMSEN to take her into port. Now, at this point, the crew of the HARPERS ferry are starting to get a little bit confused. So the commanding officer approaches the navigational officer who's looking at the charts, looking at the radar and whatnot. He's at the chart table, and he informs her of his desire to remain on the right side of the channel to give plenty of room to the MOMSEN. Okay. They should stay on the right side of the area because that's what they're supposed to do. Bringing up the video again. So, all right, at this point, he said, all right, at this point, apparently the person at the chart, at the handling the navigational charts, the navigator is not aware that they have already agreed to pass port to port. So the commanding officer comes and says, we're going to stay over here on the right side of the channel so that we can give a lot of room for the MOMSEN to come in here and turn to starboard as well. And at that point, the HARPERS ferry navigator was unaware. Well, up to that point, that was when she became aware that they were going to pass port to port. No problem. Donkey's a problem. At approximately 10:16 and 38 seconds, there's some other ships coming in. The USS Gridley, they inform the San Diego port traffic that they're coming eastbound, etc. And then the ships start to get close to each other. At 10:17, the HARPERS ferry begins to realize there might be a problem. How do we know this? Well, the HARPERS ferry slowed down, and they don't say who gave the order, but it's likely the officer on deck or the duty officer, the guy who happens to be on shift and in control of the ship at that point. So they slow down and order all engines ahead 1/3 for 5 knots. So they're saying, pull the engines back to 1/3 ahead speed. And then the I can't think of the word in English. The navigator, the helmsman, we'll call them. Damn it. I have been here too long. We'll call it's con in English. That's what it is. The person controlling the ship, the con. He has the con. He has the controls. They're in control. So the person that has the actual control of the ship orders the HARPERS ferry to turn left to another course. So at this point, they want to stay on the right side. The Harpers Ferry wants to stay on the right side. But for some reason, the person that's in control of the Harpers Ferry orders them to turn left rudder. And this turn lasts for about 2 minutes, which is what we're in the middle of seeing here. So the Harpers Ferry is starting to turn here. They're in the middle of this turn. Meanwhile, the MOMSEN is just still inbound. And you can see them getting closer here. But the problem here, the problem that's happening is based on their plans, on their courses, their timing, they're projected to meet right about here, which apparently is the most dangerous part of San Diego Harbor. It's in the middle of this curve on a narrow channel, and the pilots apparently call it the triangle. This is where pilots that are piloting vessels actively try to avoid meeting other ships at that point. So nobody likes to be met in this place. Stephen Cooper, who's been a member of 7 months for Bent Halos and Broken Wings tier. Thank you so much. Speaking of weird dogs, Titus says hello. Well, hello, weird old Titus. How are you doing? Okay, well, greetings to the 419 people here. Like I said, I am randomly switching between 3 different screens and having a technological nightmare going on, so I haven't been looking at our concurrent viewers. We've got 426 concurrent viewers now. Welcome, everybody. While we figure out what happened on board the MOMSEN and the Harpers Ferry that led to this near collision that we're almost ready to get to. So we've got 426 people here, 225 likes. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button. I'll be mentioning that just a couple more times tonight. Won't make a big deal out of it. But I do notice that we have moved up in Doggo Cam world, so let's take care of that business. Boom. All right, there we go. All right, back to our story. Where did I put the story? Here's the story. So they're going to be their schedule, path, speed, course, everything puts them en route to meet at exactly the point in the channel that the pilots don't want to meet. And for some reason, again, the Harpers Ferry is turning to port. That can cause problems. Now, at this point, right here, right about where we are in the video, the pilot has gotten on board the MOMSEN. And now at this point, because like I said, they wanted to stay, the Harpers Ferry wanted to stay on the right side of the channel, but they're turning to port. So the bridge becomes confused because of the fact that the tugs that are in the area, there's some tugs in the area of the MOMSEN. And there's also some confusion from the USS Gridley that has been redacted. We don't know what that was causing confusion. And so apparently, what's going on the Harpers Ferry is they're seeing a lot of tug activity. They don't understand that the MOMSEN is taking on a pilot to head into port. And the MOMSEN has not turned to starboard that anybody's noticed. So they're saying, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of tugs in the area. There's a tug on the starboard side. All we know is that the ship that is coming at us is not turning. So this apparently caused some confusion. And as the Harpers Ferry continues to be confused, they start to initiate some maneuvers. And every ship will have what's called standing orders. Those are just orders from the captain or commercial ships from ship owners or whatever. They're just a set of orders that you just follow at all times and in all situations unless you are told otherwise. Now, there's one standing order here which is quite important, and that is standing order number 6. HFY is the Harper's Ferry. Harper's Ferry standing order number 6 states that the CICWO's responsibility, and the CIC is the Combat Information Center. That's the nerve center of the ship. That's where all of the important equipment is that tells you what other ships are doing. That's the, just think of it as like the brain or the nerve center of the ship. The CICWO's responsibilities for navigation are to provide the officer. Now, I'm not sure if this is the officer on deck or the officer of the day or the officer on duty, but basically it's the duty officer. It's the guy who happens to be on duty at that point in time. So to provide the officer on deck with the best possible navigation support. So their job is to provide the guys on the bridge with the best possible navigation support, using all of the CIC's capabilities, using all of the Combat Information Center's capabilities, regardless of whether the OOD, the officer, asks for help. That's an important thing. It's like whether or not they're asking for help, you provide them with support. So this comes into play a little bit later. Now, again, the CIC on some ships is essentially, it's just like Star Wars. I've only been in CIC of one ship, and it was just like going from an analog world to a super mega hyper futuristic digital world that was pretty damn cool. So they've got a lot of capabilities in there, and their job, understanding Order 6 on the Harper's Ferry, is to provide this navigational support to the people on the bridge. So at 10:18, where we are, during the turn, we'll say to port because that's where they're turning. The navigational person, the officer's in charge of the navigation, the navigator, he asks for verification from the commanding officer of the Harper's Ferry regarding the desire to be right upon completion of the turn and maneuver to starboard side of the channel. Now, so here's where we're getting into some problems. 2 ships, 1 port. Nice. Yes, definitely not to be confused with order number 66. But yeah, so we've got the original plan. They said, okay, everybody, we're going to pass port to port. So, these 2 ships are going to pass on the left side of each other. And they're supposed to be over on the right side of the navigational channel. But for some reason, the Harper's Ferry begins to turn to port. So the ship here in the top is turning to the left. And that's, as you can see here in this 10:18 that we just read, let's see, let's bring that on up so you can see what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. So this ship up here on the top is turning to the left. They said they wanted to just change, they wanted to pass each other left side to left side, port to port. They wanted to be on the right side of the navigable channel, which is over here, but they start turning to port. And now the people, the navigators on the bridge of the Harper's Ferry are saying, wait a minute, I thought we wanted to be on the right side of the channel. I thought we were going to pass port to port. Please confirm this. So they asks for verification from the commanding officer regarding his desire to be on the right side on completion of the turn and to maneuver to the starboard side or the right side of the channel. But the Harper's Ferry commander did not say yes or no what he wanted to do. He said that he would wait and see what the MOMSEN was going to do first before he decided what to do. That's not an ideal situation. He should be deciding what he's going to do, which he already said they're going to pass port to port, and he's already said he wanted to be on the starboard side. So essentially, he's already decided he just needed to do it. Or in this situation, once they found themselves here, he should decide what he's going to do, get on the radio, and communicate to the MOMSEN what his plan is so that the MOMSEN knows what he's doing. But no, they're saying, hey, are we still gonna be on the right side of the channel? He said, well, let's just wait and see what the MOMSEN does first. Well, what do you think the MOMSEN people are thinking? Wait a minute, I thought we were going to be passing port to port. I thought we were both going to turn right and pass each other on the left. Why is this guy turning left towards me? Why don't we wait and see what he's doing before we decide what we're doing? That's something that could have been going through his mind. So the failure of the Harper's Ferry to communicate what they're doing, what they intend to do, or to seek clarification from the MOMSEN could be seen as a failure. And Adara the Wholesome, thank you so much for the super chat. I wonder if you're interested in the well-documented 1989. I think the mutiny on the HMS Bounty happened before 1989, and its journey. Also, opinion on the Kim Gardner situation. Well, the Bounty is a pretty well documented case. It's not something that's high up on the priority, just because there's been so much done about it, but it's something to keep in mind. It's something that might happen. And as far as Kim Gardner goes, the only thing that I just, I don't know enough about her to really comment. Now she is the really literally everything I know about her, I learned from watching Law Talk with Mike this morning. So she was a prosecutor that just sort of didn't show up to a murder trial. She just, and neither did another guy that's supposed to. I don't know anything about that situation. If you want to hear about that or see some of the hearings, Law Talk with Mike did a thing this morning about it. Other than that, I literally don't know anything about it. First thing I heard about it was waking up this morning. So sorry, I can't provide any additional information on that. Oh, Corn Pope sending some love. Happy 1 year. Yeah, and we're gonna have the big 1 year celebration, the F It Friday celebration on the second weekend. So that'll be the 12th. Friday the 12th will be the big F It Friday 1 year anniversary of legal vices, LawTube adventures. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for that. That is deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you, Corn Pope. You're the best. All righty. Let's get back to our two ships here. We guess we need to bump this down because that was a very, 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 very generous donation. I forgot to. All right, where are we at here? We're like, doop. Thank you again so much for that, Corn Pope. Oh, you guys are so nice. You make me tear up. Thank you so much for that very, very generous donation that moved us a little closer to Doggo Cam here. And while we're at Oceanway 007, who's been a member for 2 months of the Clean and Sober Crew, says, random thoughts, but these big ships remind me of the ship in the movie Deja Vu. I still think that time machine could be real. Deja Vu. I don't think I've seen that movie. It's one to add to the list. Okay. Adara the Wholesome has just given me a little bit more information, which I did not have previously. Said that Good Logic Joe also covered. All right, I did not know he covered her case. I just found out about it this morning when I woke up. All right, back to our regularly scheduled show. We've got these two ships coming to each other. The commanding officer of the Harper's Ferry has decided before he makes a decision regarding the handling and safety of his ship, he is going to wait to see what the other ship does first. And thank you to you veteran and military types that are keeping the chat relatively informed regarding the the acronyms and all the other nonsense that's going on here. All right. So we're at 10:18:21 on the video. And we're all right, where's the confusion here? All right. So the commander of the Harper's Ferry, the CO, has just said he wants to see what the MOMSEN's going to do first before he decides what he's going to do. And then at 10:18:28 seconds, the tug that was helping the ship, they cast their lines off that. So the tug goes away, and the MOMSEN begins to turn to starboard, which is what they should do. He's turning to the right. That's what they're supposed to do. So you can see for some reason, the Harper's Ferry is continuing to turn to the left, and the MOMSEN is just now beginning a turn to starboard, to right. And right at this second here, 10:18:29, the Harper's Ferry continues the port turn past whatever course they've redacted. And then coming up here in about 30 seconds. Now they see, you can see how quickly the Harper's Ferry is actually turning here. And all right, let's stop right there. Now, as I said, the tug that was assisting getting the pilot on board, it is now leaving the side of the MOMSEN. You can see the yellow top of the tug here and the red from the stern of the tug. Once the MOMSEN gets past this tug and the tug gets out of the way, they're going to start their turn to starboard. But now we have the other ship coming around right at them. And at this point, the con of the Harper's Ferry is getting orders from the commanding officer. The commanding officer has finally realized that perhaps things aren't going the way he thought they were going. Let's see if I don't think we have any audio at this point. But just in case. So now is where we definitely are starting to have a problem. Another view here. This is the reverse view. This is from behind. This over here is the Harper's Ferry, and this is the MOMSEN coming in. You can see the tug here a little bit off to the side. All right, now right here. We are at 10:19:13 seconds. At 10:19:03, the commanding officer of the Harper's Ferry here directs the person at the helm, the person who has the con, to order all back 1/3 and full right rudder. What that means is reverse the engines 1/3. This is to slow it down. It takes a long time for these ships to slow down, stop, and reverse, by the way. This is just to slow down to allow more time for things to unfold. But then so that was the proper thing to do. Under the cola regs that we looked at a while ago, if you're uncertain of the situation, you need to take steps that allow you more time to figure out what's going on, to assess the situation, and to take action that will help you avoid a collision. So he says, let's go back 1/3 engine, let's slow us down. And then he also said, go full right rudder. He later believes that the full right rudder was not the correct order to make. Well, now that the tug here has broken away and is sailing off, now the MOMSEN is starting to turn to starboard. So you have the MOMSEN. Let me see if I can do this here. You have the MOMSEN turning to the right. You have the other ship is also turning to their left, which creates this situation. You want to do this or you want to do this. They're supposed to do this, but they're actually kind of starting to do this. And that is a bad thing. Job done well says slowing down makes the rudder less effective. Yes, it does, but it also allows you time to react. And that's why when he slowed it down, went back 1/3, and then he went full rudder. So, he did hard rudder to right, but he later thought that was probably the wrong decision. So at 10:19:14 seconds, which is right here, you can see the MOMSEN start to turn. So at this point, the Harper's Ferry is continuing to port. So it's continuing this turn to port. It's turning left while this ship is turning right, which is doing this. And right now, things, they're sort of looking down each other's throats at this point. But we get some confusion. The officer on duty, the OOD, and the navigator, I guess, are of the Harper's Ferry. They're having a disagreement with each other. They express disagreement throughout the next several rudder and speed changes in which the chief officer, the commanding officer, changed his mind. And then he ordered he ordered to stop the engines. And then again, he says back 1/3 engine. Then he says, no, just stop engine. And then he changes, no, back 1/3 engine again. And at that point, the guy that's actually controlling the ship, he receives orders from the chief officer, from the officer on duty, and the navigator. So you have the guy with the wheel he has 3 backseat drivers telling him what to do. So he naturally becomes confused as to who he's supposed to be taking orders from. Wild Red says, donating to the Legal Vices MS Paint Fund, only the best crime scene recreation software for legal vices. Thanks. I haven't used Microsoft Paint forever. I would have to relearn how to use it. That wouldn't work very well. But thank you so much for putting us that much closer to the release of the Doggo Cam. All righty. Back to our ship. So now we are very, very nearly looking right at each other's faces. Things are going less than ideal at this point. And there's confusion on the deck. There's confusion on the bridge of the Harper's Ferry. Like I said, the poor guy at the con, he's getting orders. He or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, but the con is getting orders from 3 separate people. The chief officer, the commanding officer, the OOD, the officer on duty, and from navigator. So who do they listen to? Understated here in the report says interviews show at this time there was disagreement and confusion on the Harper's Ferry bridge. Well, yes, there was. And in their interviews, I guess the commanding officer of the Harper's Ferry said that he gave these orders to increase decision space to make a decision, which is in line with the collision regulations. Legal Vices, you missed a super chat from Vermillionaire. I did. I did. That's kind of actually that's pretty funny. Sorry to do this, but that's actually kind of funny. I just got to go back like 20 minutes, scroll up 20 minutes to get to it. Thank you for pointing that out, by the way. If I do miss super chats, please let me know if I don't read them within about 15 or 20 minutes, because that does usually mean I missed them unless there's something serious going on. Vermillionaire, thank you so much for that super chat. Said, can't, redacted. It's been a year, redacted. Redacted for always keeping, redacted. In the mornings, redacted. I'm glad you redacted. Do YouTube. Here is redacted, you filthy animal. That's kind of what I'm reading here. That's kind of what I'm going through to get all of this sorted out. That's not too far from reality. Well, because I'm at home, I let the dogs out. Who let the dogs out? Woof woof. Hoo hoo. Well, I don't have the Stream Deck plugged in. Otherwise, I would play the Release the Hounds video. But here we are. There's actually no hounds there yet. Let's see where we are. It looks like it's just going to be the strawberry cam today. Where'd you go? What are you sitting over there for, buddy? Come here. This may be the worst doggo cam ever. Come here. I cleaned their ears today, so they're kind of. We can just do it this way then. Here, that's what you get, dog. That's Strawberry, just kind of hiding there in the corner. Doesn't want to play because I cleaned her ears. She's afraid I'm calling her to do more medical things. So we'll just let her sit there with. See, that's evidence that I was trying technological things, because you can see the monitor cable I didn't clean up. I just didn't know I'd be pointing the camera in that direction. So all right, on with the show. That's lame doggo cam for today. Thank you so much, by the way, all you generous super chatters that got us to doggo cam. That's our extra bonusy thing for the day. That's our first hidden bonus. It's not really hidden because there was a big sign up there saying to do it, but yeah, other hidden bonuses are laying throughout the evening. But right, let's get back to the shoe. All right. So the commanding officer of the Harpers Ferry said that he gave these orders to reverse engines 1/3, to stop engines, then again to reverse the engines in order to gain additional space, so that they can figure out what to do in more space to allow maneuvering to happen to avoid a collision. Well, speaking of collisions, let's look at what Colregs has to say about this. Oh, there you go. About this exact situation. As soon as. All right. Sorry, doggo cam must be responded to. Boop. Oh, hey, Yoda. I guess Yoda's feeling left out. Hey, Yoda, what's up? All right. Oops. That was a bottle of whiskey falling. I told you this was going to be the most technically awkward stream Maritime Monday ever, didn't I? You didn't believe me. All right. One last quick second. All right. There we go. All right. So speaking of collision regulations, which we were speaking of a little bit earlier, let's bring up Rule 34. Rule 34 is a rule that can get violated quite regularly for several reasons. But we'll talk about one of them here. All right. This is Rule 34, maneuvering and warning signals. We are looking for this one right here. When vessels in sight of one another are approaching each other, and from any cause, either vessel fails to understand the intentions or actions of the other. That's the situation we're in right now. These ships can definitely see each other because they're looking right at each other. And the Harper's Ferry does not know what the MOMSEN is doing. So this is exactly the situation that's described here. When you see each other and you're approaching and one person doesn't understand the intentions of the other or is in doubt whether sufficient action is being taken by the other to avoid a collision, the vessel in doubt shall immediately indicate such doubt by giving at least 5 short and rapid blasts on the whistle. Such signal may be supplemented by a light signal, this flashing searchlight of at least 5 short and rapid flashes. Rule 34 has a different meaning for us. It does out there in internet land. Thank you, Billy Aoki. But yeah, so this is a rule that routinely gets violated. Is Rule 34. And why would this Rule 34 get violated so often? Well, think about this here. You're in doubt. You don't know what the other guy is doing, so you should give 5 short rapid blasts on the whistle. These aren't quiet whistles. These are very, very loud whistles for exactly that reason. They're supposed to be heard by other ships. So you're supposed to be going beep, 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 beep. What happens there, And I don't think you actually have to do that. Like my dad was a truck driver, so that's just like how you do the air horn. It's not how you do it on a ship. It's like you push a button. But you're in a port. You're in a Navy port where people are supposed to know what they're doing and always be aware of the surroundings. I just about knocked that bottle of whiskey off again. Let's move it over here. So you're in the Navy. You're on a ship where you're supposed to know what's going on and what you're supposed to be doing. Suddenly, you hear these 5 loud blasts. Not only does everybody in the Navy that's around you in the water hear it, but also everybody on shore. Those whistles can travel for miles. So literally everyone within viewing distance knows that you don't know what the F is going on. And what does that do? That makes everybody look at you. I tell you, when it's nighttime here, I used to live out by one of the anchorages here in town, and I always hated when I would get awakened in the middle of the night just by you just hear like this. I mean, oh my God, there's a ship that doesn't know what another ship is doing. Does this mean I'm going to be very busy in the office for the next several weeks? But so yeah, when someone signals to everybody within visual range, tens of thousands of people, that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what this other guy's doing. That makes everybody look. So that might have contributed to why this next little incident happened. The commanding officer of the HARPERS ferry said that he was aware of this Rule 34 to sound 5 short blasts, but he did not believe there was enough time to do it. He didn't believe there was enough time to sound the whistle 5 times. I don't really buy that. It doesn't take much time, if really any measurable time at all, to do it. You're talking like 1 or 2 seconds, maybe. That's all it takes. So I don't. And when he's saying he doesn't have time, that doesn't really bear out looking at what happens after this. He has a lot of time to do some other things, but he doesn't have time to alert the other ship that I don't know what you're doing. Please clarify what you're doing to me, because I don't have a clue. He didn't have time to do that. There's a reason you sound the 5 short blast. Yeah, you can get on the radio and try to work it out. Say, hey, I was out here. I was just making this turn. I know we agreed to turn and pass port to port, and I know you're seem to be going straight and not really turning. So I'm kind of turning around here, but I'm not really sure. By then, you've collided with each other. The 5 short blasts on the whistle is designed to make sure you don't have to waste time by talking on the radio to each other and trying to figure it out. It's just a boo, 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 boo. And that says, oh my God, somebody doesn't know what we're doing. So yeah, he just said he did it because he didn't think there was enough time. And he became more convinced based on this approach. I guess somewhere off here to the left maybe is a fuel farm, a naval fuel farm. The commanding officer of the HARPERS ferry believed that the MOMSEN, for some reason, he believed that they were going to this naval fuel farm. But there was never any, on the radio, there was never any indication they were going there. There was never any indication they were doing that. So why he would think that, I'm just not sure, other than just saying, oh, well, he just judging by his angle of approach, that must be where he's going. So the HARPERS ferry commanding officer on duty, and navigation see this angle of approach on the MOMSEN that indicates they're not going for a port-to-port passage. So if you look at it right now, this is what they're looking at right now. If you look at this, if you look at the picture, you have this situation where it doesn't look like the MOMSEN is going to turn right so that it passes here along the left side of the Harper's Ferry. The Harper's Ferry people think the MOMSEN is just going to go straight across the bow like this. So they're saying that based on this angle at this moment, that it doesn't look like the MOMSEN is going to turn hard to starboard, hard to right, and pass port to port. Well, we have the situation here where because of this buoy is red buoy right here, the Harper's Ferry can't really turn super hard to port so that they pass on the right side of each other. Now, this is only known to the people on the Harper's Ferry. This idea that we think the MOMSEN is going to the fuel farm, we don't think the MOMSEN is going to turn right, and we can't really turn too far to the left ourselves because of this buoy, but they didn't communicate this confusion or this misunderstanding to the MOMSEN. So the MOMSEN bridge, they have no idea what concerns the Harper's Ferry people have. They're like, okay, we agreed to pass port to port. All right, so we're going to pass port to port. We're going to turn hard to the right here. We're going to turn hard to starboard. We're just going to do what we said we were going to do all along. So here is this is the Tractor 7, the tugboat. And let's see, scrolling down here a little bit to the next relevant piece of information. So the pilot is left and they're going this way. The tug is leaving. The pilot has boarded the vessel and the tug is leaving. So now, not understanding that the Harper's Ferry crew is really confused as to what's going on, they're sticking with the MOMSEN is sticking with the original plan, and now they begin their turn to starboard so that they can pass port to port. And now the MOMSEN is apparently just now realizing that the Harper's Ferry isn't doing what they thought the Harper's Ferry was supposed to do based on their agreement. So right now, at this point, the MOMSEN is thinking, aha, something may have changed in our arrangement to pass port to port. So what they do on the bridge of the MOMSEN, what they do on the MOMSEN is now they start discussing what the Harper's Ferry is doing. So as you can see, they're supposed to be over here on the right side of the channel. They're supposed to be passing port to port, left side to left side. So they're saying, okay, they're in the middle of the channel and they're continuing to turn to left. So they're here head on, and let's see, how are we going to do this? This will be the MOMSEN, and this is the Harper's Ferry. They should be passing like this in the channel, but the Harper's Ferry is really close to the center of the navigational routes, the center of the channel. So they're essentially on a head-to-head channel, on a head-to-head course here. And the MOMSEN, all along, they've been planning to turn left so that they can pass the left, turn right so that they can pass left side to left side. But he's saying, wait a minute, we're turning to right, but this guy, the Harper's Ferry, is turning to the left. So that causes them concern because, as we said, one turns right, one turns left. They do this, right, left, boom. So what does the MOMSEN do about this? They discuss this and they go, hey, wait a minute. They're in the middle of the channel. They're continuing to come to left. We need to do something about it. So now the MOMSEN commanding officer is having his suspicions about how they're going to pass. And the MOMSEN their navigation also, because you remember the Harper's Ferry. The Harper's Ferry was recommended to give 5 short blasts, but the commanding officer refused to do it because he said, "Hey, not necessary." What was his excuse why he didn't do it? He didn't believe there was enough time. So yeah, the Harper's Ferry, they didn't follow the recommendation to give 5 short blasts because they didn't think there was enough time. But once we got to this point, the MOMSEN navigator suggests that the MOMSEN commanding officer sound 5 short blasts to let the Harper's Ferry know that the MOMSEN has no idea what the Harper's Ferry is going to do or is doing. Well, did they sound the 5 short blasts and everything was solved? No, of course not. Of course not. So the nav recommends to the MOMSEN commanding officer to sound 5 blasts, which would have been appropriate, but the MOMSEN commanding officer declined to sound the 5 short blasts on the whistle because he thought that would just make it more confusing. Snoring dogs. Yeah, so the MOMSEN commander thought that sounding 5 short blasts, which is specifically designed to help alleviate confusion, would have added more confusion to the situation, especially given the decreasing range between the 2 ships and how the Harper's Ferry might react if he sounded the 5 short blasts. He was afraid that suddenly the Harper's Ferry would make a sharp turn to the right or something like that. So they didn't sound it because he didn't know how the other ship would react, which is kind of weird too. Well, the MOMSEN took action. He wasn't going to wait to find out what the Harper's Ferry was going to be doing. The MOMSEN officer on duty, he directed their tactical communications to contact the Harper's Ferry and say, "Hey, what's up?" So this is about the time that the MOMSEN attempts to clarify whether or not they're still passing port to port. This is what we're looking at here. While this is happening right now, they're making the attempt to contact the Harper's Ferry to say, "Remember when we said we're passing port to port? Are we still doing that?" And that plays out over the next few seconds.
Warship 49, this is Warship 92. Confirm port to port. Over.
That's him saying, "Now confirm that we're still going port to port." They're looking right at each other right now. Like, "Yeah, remember when we said we're going to go port to port? Will you confirm that's still what we're going to do?"
Yeah. Confirm port to port. Over.
Oh, hang on.
Warship 49, we're...
All right, now this is weird here.
92, Warship 49, we're...
Listen to that again. This is the Harper's Ferry starting to confirm something, starting to tell what they're going to do, what their maneuvering intention is going to be. They start to say, this is Warship 49, and then he just stops. He's like, "Okay, confirm port to port," and then the Harper's Ferry answers.
92, Warship 49, we're...
He said, "Warship 49, that's them." He's identifying himself. "Warship 49, we're going to," and then he stops talking. Yeah. Oh, we already did that super chat. Sorry about that. Thought I saw a super chat here that I missed. I missed a lot of things. There we go. We have I have to go back here just a couple of minutes here to get these super chats. One from John Gordon. Why aren't there blinkers? Wait, where do we go here? Why aren't there turn blinkers for boats? That sounds like it would clear up confusion. They actually do have lots of lights. There are lots of lights, but it just basically tells you which side is which. They would have to be really, really big blinkers. And you really don't need them if you just follow the dang rules of the road and talk to each other. You know, it's yeah. Well, there's lots of reasons. Christopher Howell, give a treat to that good boy. He looks pissed. Oh, they're both sleeping now. So Yoda's actually sleeping outside of cam range here. Let me see if I can bring Yoda back into focus here. There we go. All right. There's the oldie dogs. Just hip this a bit. There we go. Dang it. All right. So we're in this situation. Things are heating up. And then we get another Flux membership for 8 months of the Bent Halos and Broken Wings, giving her morning shout the Mocha Dick Poon XOXO fully adjustable blow for freedom and always pants are prison. That's where I'm stopping. LMAO. It's too much. Thank you for that message. All right, next, what happens after this? So we've got the MOMSEN going. Hey guys, confirm we're still going port to port. The HARPERS ferry says we're going to, and then he cut off communication. So what happens at this point? The MOMSEN commander, he states over the bridge-to-bridge radio that he's coming to port and directs his own con to order hard left rudder. So go again. Turn left rudder means turn right. It just does. You turn the rudder to the left, and the ship turns right. So he's ordering him hard left rudder.
Warship 49, we're coming to port to avoid.
I lied. That was the old way of doing it. Or he orders them hard left, because right now he wants to go right, but now they're saying, okay, there is not enough. Yeah, hard left like communism. No, there's not enough space. There's not enough time to turn hard to starboard to pass port to port. So he says, hey, are we still going port to port? The guy says, we're going to, and then there's a couple more seconds. He says, screw it, we're going hard left. So now the MOMSEN is turning, yes, tiller commands, not rudder commands, but this is the rudder command. So yeah, they decide they're going hard to port, which means that the MOMSEN is going to turn left so that they pass to each other's right side. This is uncommon. This is not something you're supposed to do. But when you get in this close of a situation, you do whatever it takes to save your ship so you don't smash into the other one. He's decided we're too close to do this left side to left side passage. So we're going to go hard left. We're going to take a hard left here and pass on the right. So during the investigation of this, they asked the pilot. Remember, there's a pilot on board here who is following the orders and instructions and giving advice and whatnot. The investigators asked him, do you agree with the decision of the MOMSEN commanding officer not to sound the 5 short blasts? The pilot said, yeah, it likely would have created more of a confusion. But he said, even though it probably would have done that, Rule 34 also says that you're supposed to do it. And he said he agreed with the commanding officer's decision to turn hard to port, turn hard left. Now, this is something that is so U.S. military here. I just want to show you this because it's funny, and I really don't even have any idea what it means. HFY, that is the HARPERS ferry. The HARPERS ferry JOOD stated the HARPERS ferry OOD, NAV, and CO were given. I don't know who the Jude is. Insert jokes here. But yeah, the JOOD of the Harper's Ferry, whoever or whatever that person is saying things. Oh, the junior officer of the deck. All right, now we know. Thank you. As I said, some of these we don't really need to know. We just know there's somebody that has a position of JOD. So he's the junior officer of the deck. Our officer of the deck is giving orders, and the junior officer of the deck is also there. Thank you. That clarified that remarkably well. Let's get back to our warship here. So at this point, the Harper's Ferry junior officer of the deck, he states that this is an investigation. He stated that the Harper's Ferry officer of the deck, the navigational officer, and the commanding officer were giving various orders, and the con did not know how to respond well to the various directions. So the junior officer of the deck seems to be throwing everybody else under the bus and saying, hey, look, we've got 3 people telling the guy at the wheel what to do, and he's confused and doesn't know who he should be listening to follow orders. Well, we talked about standing orders, which are rules that are always to be followed unless there is a specific instruction not to follow them. Well, here, the Harper's Ferry has Standing Order 3. Standing Order 3 here states that the officer of the deck shall ensure no one speaks with the helmsman except the con or the other person with authority to issue orders to the helmsman, the CO, the XO, the officer of the deck, and that the helmsman diligently performs his or her duties. So the con, the guy that's got the command of the ship, he's got the controls. He is the only one that is supposed to be talking to the helmsman. The guy that's got the controls. But here we've got everybody talking to the con, and he's like, all right, who am I listening to so I can tell the helmsman what to do? But Standing Order 3 continues. Let's get this junior officer of the deck thing off here. Standing Order 3 for the Harper's Ferry continues that the communications between the con and the helmsman, and Lee helmsman when assigned, is the most important conversation on the bridge. All other conversations should cease when the con and helm are communicating. The con is the person who has control of the ship, the guy that's sitting in the captain's seat at that moment. Captain Con or Christopher Lambert. Wait, how did Christopher Lambert get into chat? Like Highlander, there can only be one. All right, there we go. I see it now. So why is that even a rule? Yeah, that's a rule because you don't want the guy to be confused. Who am I listening to? Am I listening to the officer of the deck? Am I listening to the navigation guys? Am I listening to the commanding officer? Who am I listening to so that I know what to tell the helm? Well, that's not what happened here. 3 people were talking instead of 1. 3 people were talking instead of 1. And that was causing confusion. So now, right about this time, excuse me while I cough. Okay, this might be something to point out here. As Daily Quick Bite said, there is only one person at the con of the ship at any given time. It's whoever, whether it's the duty officer, whoever it is, it's handled over very, very formally. You know, whoever takes the con, in this case, like if the CO is going to take over the control of the vessel, just think of con as being control. If the CO is taking over control, he specifically has to say, I relieve you to return to the con, you know, I relieve you of your duty. I'm taking over the con, or you go through this process, this formal process, so that nobody has any question who is the con, who is in control of the ship. You do that all the time. Anytime, even if he's going to the bathroom, even if the con is going to the bathroom, he's going to designate someone else to be con in his place until he gets back. They go through the formal relieving appointment. I guess talking about relieving going to the bathroom is a bad analogy, but you know what I mean. They go through the whole relieving and appointing process, and then when he comes back, they do it again in reverse, and he takes the con again. So that way you literally have no question as to who is in charge. And that is the person that's supposed to be talking to the helmsman. And they're just trying to figure out what's going on here. So now we can see that the MOMSEN is starting to turn to port now. They're turning faster. And you'll see how quickly the MOMSEN is turning, because they have, if I recall correctly, they have really cool adjustable propellers, so that the angles of the propellers can be adjusted, so that can turn the ship a lot quicker. Yeah, I guess I should put the video up, huh? You missed that, didn't you? Yeah, that wasn't too bad. That's like the first time I've done that tonight. I really expected to be doing that about every 30 seconds, trying to switch between the multitude of screens here. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Y'all can call me whatever you want, but I'm surprised that we got that far. That's pretty cool. All right, so yes, Daily Quick Bites says that the MOMSEN has variable
Warship
pitch
92, we're
drop.
coming to port to avoid you.
All right, so that was the important thing there. You just heard it while I was talking over it. As I said, and was confirmed by Daily Quick Bites, the MOMSEN has these variable pitch props, so they literally just change the angle, so you can, instead of just having to use the rudder to get around, you get to angle the propellers to give you that extra little quick turn. So you can see it turns pretty darn quickly. And here is where the MOMSEN says, we're turning to port to avoid you. We're going to be passing starboard to starboard.
Warship 92, we're coming to port to avoid you as well.
Great. Nah. Now here's a part of the investigation. Says right here at the 10:20, 10:21 mark that and I didn't hear it, but just it didn't come through on the audio because there probably was no communications back and forth at that point in time. But the HARPERS ferry officer on deck took the con. So whoever was at the con of the HARPERS ferry is no longer at the con. No, is no longer in control of the vessel at this point, and maneuvered full port rudder and sounded 2 short blasts, which is saying I'm turning to port. So they didn't have time to sound the 5 short blasts a while ago, but now they've got plenty of time to take the con, to sound 2 short blasts. And short blast says I'm turning to port. So when he said I'm turning to port, they weren't aware of what the MOMSEN was doing yet. So that's why the MOMSEN, they did the 2 blasts, which says we're coming to a port, we're coming to port, we are turning to port, and that's when the MOMSEN did their radio communication that said we're turning to port 2.
Avoid you as well.
He says as well. We're turning. So he hears the 2 blasts, which means we're turning to port, and the MOMSEN says we're turning to port to avoid you as well. So they
Warship 92, we're coming to port to avoid you as well.
So now there's a bridge-to-bridge call, and they confirm their maneuvering that they're going to continue to avoid each other by doing this.
That's going out of the channel over there. That ship got in front of the other one.
So by finally doing, well, that was unpleasant. Not sure what that was. Thank you for making me go deaf. Sapphire Dragon says they can turn on a dime. No, as we just talked about, the MOMSEN has these really cool pitch adjustable propellers, which means like they actually turn propellers can turn so that they can, it makes a much tighter turn. You can still see that the Harper's ferry, it's not coming around nearly as quickly because their propellers don't have the ability to do that. And there we go. The ships pass safely. And disaster is diverted. But weirdly, right around if we go back to the 20, this is something that was here. And if we go back to the 2059, so about a minute before that, right when they're here, just before they start to say we're turning to port 2, something happened on the Harper's ferry. The report says that in the Harper's ferry command information center, remember that's the brains of the ship, that's the neural center of the ship, a Class C fire started, and the radar feeds to the control information center, the combat information center, it's the combat information center, are lost. What the Class C fire was, it was a blown breaker. So basically, a circuit breaker was tripped. They blew a breaker in the combat information center, and throughout from the 24 mark, the 1024 mark, until everything was done, there was no more navigation or contact management support coming from the CIC. So that's kind of an interesting little thing, that this ship blew a breaker and they essentially lost all navigation and contact management support from the CIC. But they both completed their safe passage. And something interesting. The report mentions two things. That's just about all the video we need for this particular day. But the report mentions something interesting here. This is in the official Navy report. At 14:26, that's 2:26 p.m., 4 photos of the near collision are posted on Twitter account at Warship Cam, showing the encounter in the channel. Later, on 30 November 22, a 30-minute video, which I think what we were just watching, was posted on YouTube showing the encounter with the associated VHF audio. So they're like, all right, not only did this happen, social media is pointing this out. And that they had a problem with that. Well, so what happens here? What did they decide? We got to go all the way back to the top. This is a long report. Here's the preliminary statement from the investigators. In summary, the investigation concludes that the near miss was the result of the failure by the MOMSEN to adhere to procedures to maintain a proper watch on bridge to bridge as it pertained to the tactical communicator position, the failure by MOMSEN to maintain a proper watch on the bridge to bridge, and the failure by Harper's Ferry and MOMSEN to communicate via secondary communication channels, and failure by Harper's Ferry to adhere to proper bridge resource management. And a couple of things, like 2 things, have been redacted, and the failure by Harper's Ferry and MOMSEN combat information centers to provide forceful backup to the pilot house. So essentially what they're saying is both sides weren't watching each other closely enough, both sides weren't talking to each other enough, and 3, they weren't getting enough support from the CICs on each ship. 3 major events prevented the near miss from being a collision. 1, the decisive action taken by the MOMSEN commanding officer to maneuver to port. That means that, all right, we're moving to port. The officer of the deck on Harper's Ferry assuming the con. So that means that, all right, I'm taking over and sounding the 2 blasts to identify that they were going to the port. So assuming the con and maneuvering to port when he felt the point of extremis was reached. And 3, the decision by both the MOMSEN and Harper's Ferry OOD to shift rudders at approximately the same time to complete a successful maneuver to safe waters. So for brevity and clarity, a consolidated timeline of major events is provided, and that's what we just read. And let's see. Let's move on down here to some fun stuff where they talk about actions in the pilot house and CIC of the Harper's Ferry. Not all members of the Harper's Ferry bridge and CIC team were qualified to stand their watch. They had unqualified people standing watch. The senior quartermaster recently reported and did not perform a WTCC with the ISIC. Well, shame on him. While this deficiency must be quickly corrected, the Harper's Ferry navigation team provided appropriate support to the commanding officer, and this discrepancy did not attribute to the near miss. Okay. While the preparations to render honors to the Tripoli was a distraction to the Harper's Ferry. Remember the Tripoli passed, and they were worried about waving to each other. So that was a distraction. It was a distraction to the XO, the executive chief, executive officer there. It happened well enough in advance of the meeting that it didn't contribute to the near miss. And this just goes through just to talk about things, like not relying on what you believe to have happened. CO insufficiently conveyed his overall thoughts to the bridge team and did not practice good bridge resource management. Better clarity in communication would have led to increased situational awareness to watchstanders and a higher probability of effective feedback. And again, this is just basically, and they do this for the other vessel as well, for the MOMSEN. Again, not all members of the MOMSEN bridge were qualified to stand their watch. Specifically, the Khan did not have a qualification evident in the RADM. Regardless, the performance of the Khan in the moment of extremis showed us he was sufficiently proficient to navigate safely. This lack of whatever the radar management, whatever the RADM qualification he didn't contribute to the near miss. They just go through step by step of, what happened. Then they go through the communications, and of course, a lot of the communications are redacted. And the rules of the road. These are the collision regulations and how they all came into play. And then there's just a little bit of, the pilots have to have some situational awareness, navigation and navigation briefs, and how to read the tracks of the ship. And the official records, they've kept their logs. The recommendations. Here's the recommendations that came from this near miss in San Diego Bay. Clarify roles and responsibilities related to communications during SNA. CIC is the guard on Navy Red and Sipper Chat. This means nothing to humans. Formalize the tactical communications watch. Require everybody to do this. Direct the MOMSEN to immediately formalize their procedures for bridge-to-bridge communications. And they go through and they just list all of these things that they should do to make sure this doesn't happen again. And there's quite a few of them. I mean, seriously, just recommend to be recognized. And this is where they say recognize these people for good things, recognize these people for the things that they didn't do quite right. And then basically decide if anybody needs punishment. I'm sure there will be people that will be disciplined for this, one way or another, but basically, Benjamin Lewis says, Jeff, that's not how the variable pitch propellers work. It's not a Z drive pitch control speed. Okay. That's not how those propellers work. I thought the variable pitch propellers did that, but I guess they don't adjust that way. Yeah, so there we go. This was the accident we just blew by. We just watched it and said, oh, wow, that's not something that would happen. We made a few little lighthearted jokes. And we just kind of went with it. We said, oh, that's kind of funny and wild that two Navy ships almost hit each other right at a naval base in the middle of San Diego Harbor. But the Navy takes that a lot more serious than we did. And they've been conducting their investigation, and they just released this a couple of weeks ago. Daily Quick Bite says, Thomas Turner, he was repeating what I mentioned about the variable pitch props. It works differently on a ship than a plane. You're going to reverse thrust on a plane in the air, a ship can. You aren't, I meant. Well, I'm confused. Anyway, regardless of whether it changes only the speed or the actual direction of the propellers, the angle of the propellers, the MOMSEN has some really cool propellers that allow it to turn really, really quickly. So there we go. Wonder if you can crash a big ship and continue with a career. Yeah, no. That's the problem of being the top dog on ships. When things go wrong, regardless of whether or not it's your fault, it's your fault. It's your ship, you're in charge, and you're responsible for everything that happens on that ship. And that's kind of it. What's the worst collision you've seen caught on camera? Asks Hugh Jass, member for 2 months of the Clean and Sober crew. Wow. The worst collision I've ever seen caught on camera. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Can't think of what the worst one I've seen caught on camera is. Because there's a lot of them where you're hitting the gantry cranes and containers or hitting other ships that are docked while you're trying to dock. Those are some bad ones. We've seen a couple where the ships have kind of T-boned each other. I honestly don't know how to answer that question, Hugh Jass. I don't know what the worst collision I've ever seen caught on camera is. Maybe I should think about that. All right. Well, as I said, this was going to be kind of a technically weird Maritime Monday. Not a lot of fun, no cannibalism, nothing like that. But it's a highly technical thing, and it's something that we just blew through. So I wanted to go back and just sort of, and I thought it was good to review this because it shows the anatomy of an accident. This is one of the few instances where we literally get a minute by minute, blow by blow view of what happened on both ships in a near accident situation. It's not something you get that often. And I thought it was fascinating. I hope it was. I mean, there's still 445 of you here, so I guess some of you found it interesting. Been there, done that. Member of the Clean and Sober membership level for 5 months says, "You sunk my battleship." Almost. Yeah, literally, like almost. But Flux says, "Don't leave me, Jeff. Stay streaming forever." No, we're gonna dump into probably Megan Fox. I think she's starting here in about 1 minute. So we'll probably feed into her. But yeah, I hope you guys were entertained by this. I like this because I said I think it's interesting. Because ordinarily we just kind of have to pick up the pieces after, and we only get we get one side of the incident if we're lucky. Here it was 2 Navy ships that get to be investigated, and we get to see what's going through the mind of people on something that was caught on camera, as well as these different investigations that happened, and then they got pulled up into this report. You just don't get to see that. I said you have to watch it as it unfolds. We know what the con of this ship was thinking. We know what the commanding officer of this ship was thinking. We know what's going on here in people's minds and what they're doing and where they're going. And you can see how one ship can be thinking, all right, this guy is doing something crazy. This guy's doing something unusual. I need to wait to see what he's doing to figure out what I'm doing. And at the same time, the other guy's going, well, wait a minute. This other ship is doing something unusual. We got to figure out what's going on. And then that leads to these near misses. And thank God this was a near miss. That would have been an ugly accident if they would have hit each other. I mean, forget the money from the 2 ships, which would have been picked up by the taxpayers. There would have been, because as you can see, there's people lining the front of these ships as they're going in and out of port. There would have been probably a decent amount of loss of life, lots of pollution. The shipping, the entering in and out of port from the Navy ships and the commercial ships, whatever, would have been would have been severely hampered. So thank heavens that didn't happen. Tom Nash Music says, did you get the email I sent you about the Mikhail Lermontov sinking in New Zealand? Bit of old. That was the submarine, was it? I believe I got. I did get it. Yeah, I mean, any email you got, I sent, and I read them. It's kind of hard to keep them all straight because I have a huge long list of things that people mention for Maritime Mondays that we get through. But so what was the aftermath of all of this? What was the big takeaway from this, do you think? We had this big near miss that was put out on the internet. There was a big deal about it on social media. Hell, even some wacko maritime lawyer in Korea got a hold of it and was making fun of it. So what do you think? What was the blowback from this? What happened? Well, something happened. And let me get rid of that screen and bring up the aftermath. Popular San Diego web camera removed at Navy's request. That camera we just watched, that camera that provided a valuable piece of information and a valuable insight into this near accident, was removed because the Navy didn't want things like this to be shown anymore. Troy asks, I believe both captains got relieved of duty after this incident. That would not be unheard of. I mean, that's kind of standard operating procedure there. So, yeah, a group that runs an array of San Diego-based web cameras that capture Navy ships coming and going is calling foul after the National Park Service removed 2 cameras overlooking San Diego Bay this month at the Navy's request. While Navy officials framed the recent cam removal as a matter of force protection, Barry Barami, a 52-year-old San Diego local who runs the volunteer San Diego webcam group, alleges the cameras were removed from the Cabrillo National Monument after they captured an embarrassing near collision of 2 Navy ships in November. That close call between the guided missile destroyer MOMSEN and the dock landing ship HARPERS FERRY came to be known as Warship Chicken Incident after San Diego webcam footage of the encounter went viral. The Park Service confirmed Friday that it had removed. This was like 2 Fridays ago, I believe. This is why we're doing this. I read this and went, holy crap. And then I found out that they had released their report. And then I went back and read that. And that's how we did this. So yeah, the Park Service confirmed Friday that it had removed the 2 cameras at Cabrillo after the Naval Criminal Investigation Service, the NCIS, for those of you that watch NCIS on TV, the Naval Criminal Investigation Service requested that they be removed, quote, due to security concerns. Barami said that he was notified of the removal on April 11th. Cabrillo sits just north of Naval Base Point Loma, an installation that hosts Navy submarines and other assets. The site also sits right across the water from Naval Station North Island and the island of Coronado, the west coast home of the Navy SEALs. Before the Park Service removed the cameras, they regularly broadcast footage of ships coming and going, garnering 6 million views online in the past year alone, according to Barami. The cameras also provide a civil service, he said, allowing Navy families to watch their loved ones departing and arriving while providing cool footage for ship enthusiasts of all stripes. NCIS spokesman Jeff Houston said in an email that the request to have the NPS remove the Cabrillo cameras, quote, was not related to the HARPERS FERRY MOMSEN incident. Well, how convenient that it just sort of happened to come out right around the time the report mentioning and complaining about this particular camera capturing the thing on video came out. NCIS verbally expressed force protection concerns related to the recently related to the private webcams and YouTube channel, which provided 24-hour webcam monitoring of the vessels and equities located aboard Naval Air Station North Island, including aircraft hangars, flight lines, Naval Base Point Loma, submarine assets, and the tracking of military personnel aboard Naval Base Coronado, Houston said. But to Barami, the Navy's push to remove the cameras didn't make sense, given all the Cabrillo tourists and others in the area who can just as easily photograph and video naval ships. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense because literally everyone within view of the bay can do exactly what we're doing. You can take pictures and, whatever. So So they'll sell you a zoomed-in view of the sub base. Oh yeah, I like this. They have like the mounted binoculars that you can go like they have on piers and wharfs and things. He pointed out that a visitor to Cabrillo can plop a quarter into stationary binoculars and take a look. They'll sell you a zoomed-in view of the sub base, he said. Houston did not answer Navy Times questions about why the threat posed by the camera is any greater than all the other ways that area Navy bases can be recorded or photographed. Barami said his club, which runs the cameras off donations, always keeps security at the forefront and does not broadcast footage of ships arriving or departing in real time. He also said group members always ensured the Cabrillo feeds did not show any portion of the Point Loma base. Anyone in a condo or a house around the bay, or anyone at Cabrillo has a view of the Point Loma base and can record, Barami said. Anyone standing at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery can look down at the sub base. Other webcams capture ships coming and going from fleet concentrations elsewhere in the States, and Barami said his group feels cams are being targeted because of the warship chicken incident. Why the San Diego webcam, he asked. Somebody got a little embarrassed, maybe. Hey, can you stop licking heads there, buddy? Stop licking each other's foreheads. He noted the investigation into the warship chicken incident was released days after his cameras were removed from Cabrillo, where they had recorded the past decade. Yeah, they've been there for 10 years, and they were suddenly removed right before the report was released. Seems a little sus to me. Barami also alleges that he was warned that the Navy would seek to remove his cameras after they captured the incident. When I went viral, I cannot tell you the person's name, but I received a call from a ranking individual telling me to watch my back. They were after my cameras. Barami added that the U.S. Navy uses several maritime and aviation tracking systems that broadcast the positions of assets, including the Automatic Identification System, or AIS for ships. Yeah, the AIS system will literally just brings up and it'll tell you the names of every single ship within the range of that particular AIS system. So it's not a secret. It's the Navy themselves that are broadcasting all their precise positions. It's not the San Diego webcam. For now, Barami said his group continues to operate other cameras in the bay and is scouting out sites for cameras to replace the two lost at Cabrillo. He declined to say where those new cameras will be placed. So what do y'all think? That's the takeaway from this. The cameras that caught all of that were removed just days before the report was released. But the Navy says the fact they were released had nothing to do with them broadcasting this embarrassing incident around the internet to the entire world. What do you guys think? Did it have something to do with it? I'm leaning towards Navy got pissed. Navy got embarrassed. Navy demanded those cameras come down. They made the Park Service take them down. Just out of sheer embarrassment, because like he said, you can find out what ships are coming and going anytime. The Navy broadcasts it through the AIS system. Anybody within view of the bay can take pictures, can zoom in on things, can do things. But it was just happened to be these two particular cameras that caught the incident and the people that brought it to light. Well, shoot. Yeah, the government is lame. AIS can be turned off by anybody. Well, I mean, anybody on the ship, you know. But see, I mean, it's the law is you have to broadcast your AIS data so that, you know, things like this can happen. Strawberry has a sulk on, bless her paws. Yoda's brooding over here. Strawberry's got her face buried in the blanket. But anywho. It's not the incident itself. It is someone just noticed, holy shit, we're broadcasting what to the internet? Yeah, pretty much. There was just a live feed of the Carl Vinson coming into port after deployment. I've been on board the Carl Vinson. Beautiful, beautiful ship. the Carl Vinson is a very, very nice ship. And I heard that it was coming there too. It's a beautiful, beautiful aircraft carrier. Can't remember. Gosh, it's been like 10 or 15 years whenever it came here to Korea a while ago. We had the Reagan here a couple of weeks ago. So it's kind of fun. I'm glad that I have Navy friends that let me take tours of aircraft carriers and stuff. The Navy hasn't heard of the Streisand effect. All right. Well, folks. Yeah. Well, of course. If you're in the middle of a war or a military exercise, you don't have to broadcast who you are and where you're going. But yeah, we've taken the 2 cameras away. The U.S. is safe now. All righty. Well, with that, I think that brings another Maritime Monday to an end. Next Maritime Monday, we're going to be having a sit down and interview, and we're going to be reviewing the Northwest Passage search, hopefully with the folks from Retired Afloat. So it's an Australian couple that they spend 6 months of the year on cruise ships lecturing about maritime accidents. The Batavia and they just released a new one about the Penrose lifeboat, the Penley lifeboat disaster. Hopefully we'll be able to look at the Northwest Passage expedition next week with these guys. And coming up, just regular programs. Tomorrow will be Andrew, Legal Vices. That's me. I tried to recover from that and I just couldn't. I tried to make it sound like I meant to say legal vices, but I didn't. Coming up tomorrow will be Legal Mindset Andrew, where he's going to sit down for a couple of hours and we're just going to shoot the shit because tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary on YouTube. Yay me. And he was the guy that talked me into doing it. So we're gonna talk about the last year, talk about some other based sort of stuff, and what's coming up in the future. Wednesday will be Nick Requeda from Requeda Law. Pope Rackets will be here for a couple of hours because he was also a huge force in getting me where I am today and supporting me and helping me through things and becoming a good friend. Thursday will be OJ Simpson Day. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to be in Osaka, Japan, visiting Meme Copium, hanging out with him, getting drunk and visiting cat girl cafes, etc., etc. We'll get some vids. We'll post our adventures. So then next Monday will be the Maritime Monday. Next Tuesday, I believe will be, if I remember correctly, it will be Nina Infinity. We're also working on getting everybody else involved in my last year. I want to get everybody in here just on a one-on-one and talk and give them my thanks and let you get to know the people a little bit better. Maybe you follow some, maybe you don't. We'll see how it goes. But coming up in the immediate future are Legal Mindset Andrew tomorrow and Pope Rackets on Wednesday. Right now, let's head on over. I'm going to set this up so that we can feed into Megan Fox. Megan Fox, where are you? Gosh, we can do lots of people. We've got Kurt is on now. Law Talk with Mike is on right now. Megan Fox is on right now. Cool Frog seems to be going on right now. Well, I promised chat that we would do Megan Fox, so I'm going to send this over to Megan Fox. Headlines with journalist Kara McKinney is what she is doing. So, yeah, we've got Megan Fox live and Law Talk with Mike is also live and Kurt is live, but we're going to Megan Fox. Let Megan Vices, dang it, I'm so narcissistic. It's all about me, isn't it? Let Megan Fox know that you're on a Legal Vices raid. Say hi to her. Compliment her on being medium smart and not having weird thumbs. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Andrew, Legal Mindset. Mods, thank you for being super moddy. Chat, thank you for being chat. The Vice Squad chat is the best. And tomorrow also we'll have our new outro music. I forgot to download the outro music. Otherwise, I would have played it just now. But we have our intro music and we've got some outro music. We'll play that tomorrow. Until then, cold ending. Okay, never mind. We already read that one. I'm out. Legal Raxes. I need to quit. It's been a long, stressful day. I need to quit. Legal Vices saying, always be sure to enjoy your legal vices. Lawrax out. I give up.